You think you know Ridley Scott? Well, here's some things you may not have known about the Blade Runner director. One of Ridley Scott's first jobs was working with the BBC. In 1962, he was hired to be a set designer on a variety of different shows. The BBC helped him to get his first directorial debut. Ridley took a trained director's course and directed 2 BBC series, Z-Cars and Z-Cars Error in Judgment. After he left the BBC, he began his own advertising agency with his younger brother and future Top Gun director, Tony Scott. Their agency, called Ridley Scott Associates, created a variety of well-known commercials on British television.
On January 24th, Apple Computer will introduce Macintosh. And you'll see why 1984 won't be like 1984.
Ridley Scott's first feature film, The Duelists, was released in 1977 and screened at the Cannes Film Festival, where it was nominated for the main prize and won an award for Best Debut Film. Ridley Scott almost designed the iconic Daleks for the series Doctor Who. While at the BBC, he was assigned to work on the second Doctor Who serial, The Daleks, but due to scheduling conflicts, he had to pass the project off to Raymond Cusick. Seeing Star Wars inspired Scott to work on larger effects-driven films. Ridley Scott was hired to work on a film called Star Beast, which would be retitled to Alien. Ridley Scott was responsible for switching the character Ripley from a male action hero to a female role. For the famous chestburster scene, the actors only partly knew what was about to happen to their co-star John Hurt. Ridley wanted real reactions from the actors, so when the chestburster came through the prosthetic torso, fake blood squibs fired and sprayed blood all over the actors. No one knew there would be that much blood, especially Veronica Cartwright, whose genuine shock made it into the final cut.
No! Don't touch it! Don't touch it!
When Ridley Scott submitted his initial cut of Blade Runner to the studios, it was reportedly 4 hours long. The production had several problems and multiple creative differences, which ultimately led to Ridley Scott being briefly fired from the film, as well as the studio making changes that Ridley did not want. Altogether, there are 7 different versions of Blade Runner that have screened over the years. Ridley Scott released his final cut for the 25th anniversary of the film. It's the only version of the film that Ridley Scott had complete control over and even reshot some sequences for it. In 2003, Ridley Scott was knighted by Queen Elizabeth II. She honored his contribution to entertainment as well as his long-standing career with the British film industry. After the event, Ridley stated that he was, quote, truly humbled and never imagined that he would have been a recipient of such a prestigious award. And here's a bonus one. All 3 of Ridley Scott's children are successful directors. His daughter, Jordan Scott, has directed commercials for Prada, Nike, and Amazon. Jake Scott has directed music videos for the Smashing Pumpkins, R.E.M., U2, and George Michael. And Luke Scott has worked with his father as a second-unit director on Exodus: Gods and Kings and The Martian. He also directed the prologue, Last Supper, for the film Alien Covenant. Jake and Scott also make a minor appearance in Alien.
The other members of the crew, Kane, Lambert, Parker, Brett, Ash, and Captain Dallas are dead. Cargo and ship destroyed. I should reach the frontier in about 6 weeks. With a little luck, the network will pick me up. This is Ripley, last survivor of the Nostromo. Signing off.
That's it for this episode of You Think You Know Movies. Make sure to subscribe, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and get the latest movie and TV news on ScreenCrush.com.